The kitchen faucet dripped like a metronome counting down to my execution. I crouched under the sink, wrench in hand, listening to my wife, Olivia, tear into my parents upstairs. Another night in paradise, I thought, tightening the valve until my knuckles went white. Michael, your mother just criticized my pot roast again. Olivia's voice carried down like poison through the vents. And your father keeps making those passive-aggressive comments about my work schedule. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I crawled out from under the sink, wiping grease on my jeans. My parents had driven 3 hours from Buffalo to visit, bringing homemade cookies and genuine smiles. Olivia treated them like they'd brought the plague. Upstairs, chairs scraped against hardwood. I climbed the steps 2 at a time, finding my parents sitting stiffly at our dining room table, while Olivia paced behind them like a prosecutor. Mom was just saying the roast was tender, I said, forcing a smile. No, Michael. She said it was interesting with that tone. Olivia's perfectly manicured finger jabbed the air, the same tone she uses when she talks about our house being cozy instead of nice. My mother, Dorothy, 68 years old and sweet as apple pie, looked like she wanted to disappear into her floral dress. My father, Frank, shifted uncomfortably, his weathered hands folded on the table. Honey, maybe we should, I started. Don't honey me. Olivia's green eyes flashed. She'd been beautiful once, before ambition carved lines around her mouth and success hardened her smile. I'm tired of pretending everything's fine when your family treats me like I'm not good enough. That's not true, Frank said quietly. We've always welcomed you. Welcomed me? Olivia laughed, sharp and bitter. You welcomed the girl who married your son. You never accepted the woman I became. I watched my parents shrink under her assault. Dad worked construction for 40 years. Mom raised 4 kids on a budget that would make Olivia's monthly shoe allowance look generous. They were good people, simple people. Everything Olivia used to be before real estate success went to her head. Olivia, that's enough, I said. She whirled on me. No, Michael, I'm done pretending. Your family is toxic. They make me feel small and judged, and I won't do this anymore. The silence stretched like a tightrope. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Dad's jaw worked like he was chewing nails. What are you saying? I asked, though I already knew. I want a divorce. The words hit the room like a grenade. Mom gasped. Dad's face went gray. I felt something cold and sharp settle in my chest, but my voice stayed steady. Okay? Olivia blinked. Okay? I pulled out my phone and scrolled to my lawyer's number. Hit speaker. The dial tone filled the room like a funeral dirge. Michael, what are you doing? Olivia's voice cracked. Getting you what you want. The phone rang once, twice. If you're going to burn the house down, you might as well light the match yourself. Johnson Law Offices, this is Patricia. Hi, Patricia, it's Michael Thompson. Is Bill available? I need to start divorce proceedings. Olivia's face went white. She'd expected tears, begging, maybe a fight. Not cold efficiency, not me taking control of her dramatic moment. Michael, hang up, she whispered. I'll hold, I told Patricia, then looked at my wife. Unless you want to take it back? She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. The woman who'd demanded a divorce 30 seconds ago suddenly looked terrified of getting one. Mr. Thompson? Bill Johnson's voice crackled through the speaker. What can I do for you? My wife just asked for a divorce in front of my parents. I'd like to file papers tomorrow. Michael, please. Olivia reached for the phone. I stepped back. Bill, I'll be in your office at 9 a.m. Thanks. I hung up. The silence was deafening. You can't be serious, Olivia said. Absolutely serious. You want out? There's the door. But you don't get to torture my family on your way through it. My parents sat frozen, watching their son turn into someone they didn't recognize. Maybe someone I didn't recognize either. We should go, Mom whispered. No. I sat down beside her. You came to visit your son. Olivia can leave if she's uncomfortable. This is my house too, Olivia snapped. For now. Something flickered in her eyes. Fear, maybe, or calculation. Olivia was smart, ambitious, ruthless when she needed to be. She'd clawed her way to the top of Henderson Realty by reading people, finding their weaknesses, exploiting their desires. But she'd never seen this side of me, the side that kept careful records, the side that noticed things, like hotel receipts in her purse, phone calls that went too long, late nights at the office that smelled like expensive cologne when she came home. Michael, we should talk about this privately, she said. Why? You didn't mind airing our business in front of my parents. That's different. Is it? Or are you just worried about what else might come up in conversation? Her face went very still. What's that supposed to mean? I smiled, but it felt like a blade. Nothing at all, dear. Just making conversation. Dad cleared his throat. Maybe we should head back to the hotel. Stay, I said. Olivia was just leaving. Weren't you, honey? She grabbed her purse and keys, movements sharp and angry. This isn't over, Michael. No, I agreed. It's just getting started. The front door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. I sat back in my chair, feeling strangely calm for a man whose marriage had just exploded. Son, Dad said carefully, what just happened here? I looked at my parents, these good people who'd raised me to work hard, treat others fairly, and keep my word. They deserved better than what they'd just witnessed. I think, I said, I just found out who my wife really is. And more importantly, she was about to find out who I really was, too. 3 days later, I sat in Bill Johnson's office reviewing divorce papers while Olivia played victim to anyone who'd listen. She'd called her sister, her mother, half the real estate office, painting me as the cold-hearted bastard who'd blindsided her. Standard no-fault divorce, Bill explained, sliding documents across his mahogany desk. 50-50 split of assets, shared custody of Sophie when she's home from college. Sophie. My 17-year-old daughter, currently finishing her senior year at Syracuse. I'd called her the morning after Olivia's dinner theater performance. She'd cried, asked if it was her fault, promised to come home and fix things. Kids always think they can fix their parents' mistakes. What about the business? I asked. Thompson Accounting is yours. You built it before the marriage, kept it separate. She can't touch it. And the house? Joint property. You'll probably have to sell, split the proceeds. I signed the papers, each signature feeling like a nail in a coffin. Not my coffin, though. I had plans. Bill, I need you to do something else for me. What's that? I want you to hire a private investigator, someone discreet. Bill's eyebrows climbed toward his hairline. Michael, if you're thinking about adultery charges, New York is a no-fault state. It won't affect the settlement. It's not about the settlement. It's about leverage. That afternoon, I drove to Ray's boxing gym on the east side. The building squatted between a pawn shop and a laundromat, its brick facade scarred by decades of weather and neglect. Inside, heavy bags hung like corpses from the ceiling, while the sweet stink of sweat and liniment filled the air. Ray Kowalski stood behind the front counter, reading a newspaper and eating a submarine sandwich. At 45, he still looked like he could go 10 rounds, his shoulders broad enough to park a truck on. Well, well, he said, looking up. If it isn't the newly single Michael Thompson. News travels fast. Faster when your wife's telling everyone at Murphy's bar that you're a heartless prick who ambushed her. Ray folded his paper. She was there last night with some pretty boy from her office, real cozy. Trevor Castellano. I'd suspected for months, but hearing it confirmed still felt like a punch to the gut. What did he look like? About 35, slicked back hair, expensive suit. Looked like the kind of guy who'd cry if he broke a nail. That's him. Ray came around the counter, studying my face. You okay? I'm perfect. In fact, I'm thinking about getting back in shape. Maybe taking up boxing again. It's been what, 15 years since you fought amateur? 16. Think it's like riding a bike? Only if the bike hits back. Ray grinned. When do you want to start? Now. For the next 2 hours, Ray put me through hell. Jumping rope until my lungs burned, hitting the heavy bag until my knuckles bled through the wraps, sparring with a kid half my age who used my face for target practice. It felt amazing. You're rusty, Ray said as I slumped against the ropes, but you've still got power, and you're meaner than you used to be. I'm motivated. Revenge is good motivation, just don't let it make you stupid. I toweled off, thinking about Trevor Castellano's pretty face. What's the difference between revenge and justice? About 20 years in prison. Then I guess I better be smart about it. That evening I sat in my pickup truck across from Henderson Realty, watching through the floor-to-ceiling windows as Olivia and Trevor worked late. They thought they were being discreet, but I could read their body language like a book. The way she leaned into him when he showed her something on his computer. The way his hand lingered on her shoulder. My phone buzzed. Text message from Olivia. Working late tonight, don't wait up. I texted back, no problem, take your time. At 9:30, they left together. I followed at a distance as Trevor's silver BMW wound through downtown to the Marriott. They disappeared into the lobby like guilty teenagers. I drove home to our empty house and poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon. Then I called the private investigator Bill had recommended. Marcus Webb Investigations. Mr. Webb, this is Michael Thompson. Bill Johnson referred me. What can I do for you, Mr. Thompson? I need documentation of my wife's affair, photos, video, whatever you can get. That'll run you about $2,000 plus expenses. Money's not an issue, but I need it fast. How fast? By the end of the week. Webb chuckled. You sound like a man with a plan. I am, and it's going to be beautiful. Marcus Webb was worth every penny. By Friday, I had a manila envelope full of photographs that would make Olivia's real estate headshots look like amateur hour, Trevor's BMW in hotel parking lots, the 2 of them holding hands at restaurants across town. One particularly artistic shot of them kissing in the elevator at her office building. But I wasn't ready to play that card yet. Sophie came home that weekend, her face puffy from crying during the 3-hour drive from Syracuse. At 17, she looked like a younger version of Olivia, before success hardened her edges. Same green eyes, same determined chin. Daddy, what happened? She asked, dropping her duffel bag in the foyer. Mom says you just snapped for no reason. I hugged her, breathing in the scent of her shampoo. Sometimes people grow apart, sweetheart. Sometimes they become different people than who they married. But you guys seemed happy. We were good at pretending. Olivia chose that moment to walk through the front door, arms full of shopping bags from expensive stores. She froze when she saw Sophie, guilt flashing across her face before she composed herself. Baby girl, she dropped the bags and embraced our daughter. I'm so glad you're home. Mom, what's going on? Dad won't tell me anything. Your father is going through some kind of midlife crisis, Olivia said, shooting me a poisonous look. He's not thinking clearly. That's interesting, I said, because I'm thinking more clearly than I have in years. Michael, not in front of Sophie. You're right. Sophie, why don't you get settled in your room? Your mother and I need to discuss some logistics. Sophie looked between us, sensing the tension. Are you guys going to be okay? We're going to be fine, Olivia said quickly. Everything's going to work out. After Sophie disappeared upstairs, Olivia turned on me. You can't poison her against me. I don't need to poison her against you. You're doing a fine job of that yourself. What's that supposed to mean? I gestured at the shopping bags scattered across the floor. Nordstrom, Saks, Tiffany, expensive therapy for a guilty conscience. I bought those things for Sophie. Did you buy them before or after your dinner date with Trevor last night? The color drained from her face. I don't know what you're talking about. Romano's restaurant, table by the window. You had the salmon, he had the ribeye. You split a bottle of Pinot Noir and he paid with his American Express card. You're having me followed. I'm protecting my interests. There's a difference. She picked up her shopping bags, hands shaking slightly. You're sick, Michael. This paranoid behavior is completely rational given the circumstances. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to a photo Webb had taken. Nice dress, by the way. Is it new? Olivia stared at the screen showing her and Trevor in an intimate embrace outside Romano's. Her face went through several emotions: shock, fear, anger, calculation. You bastard. I prefer to think of myself as thorough. What do you want? Nothing you're not already planning to give me, a divorce, but I want it on my terms, not yours. And if I don't agree? I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then Sophie gets to see all of Daddy's vacation photos. Olivia's face crumpled. You wouldn't. Try me. She fled upstairs, leaving me alone with the shopping bags and the bitter taste of victory. It should have felt better, but revenge was like bourbon. It burned going down and left you empty afterward. Upstairs, I could hear Olivia and Sophie talking in hushed tones. Then Sophie's voice rose. You did what? The conversation got heated. Doors slammed. Sophie came downstairs 20 minutes later, her face red and blotchy. Is it true? She asked. Is what true? About Mom and her coworker. I sighed. Sophie, just tell me the truth. Please. I looked at my daughter, this beautiful young woman who deserved better than having her world shattered by her parents' failures. But she also deserved honesty. Yes, I said quietly. It's true. Sophie collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. I sat beside her, rubbing her back while she cried for the family we used to be. I hate her, Sophie whispered. No, you don't. You hate what she did. There's a difference. How can you defend her? I'm not defending her. But she's still your mother, and somewhere under all the ambition and selfishness, she still loves you. Do you still love her? I considered the question. 3 weeks ago, the answer would have been yes, despite everything. Now, looking at my daughter's tear-streaked face, I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. I love the woman I married, but that woman doesn't exist anymore. Sophie stayed home that night, ordering pizza and watching old movies with me. Olivia locked herself in our bedroom, probably calling Trevor or her lawyer or both. I didn't care. The war was just beginning, and I had all the ammunition I needed. But first, I needed to deal with the friends who'd already chosen sides. Monday morning brought the first casualty. Janet Morrison, Olivia's best friend and fellow real estate agent, cornered me at the coffee shop where I'd been getting my morning caffeine fix for 10 years. Michael Thompson, you should be ashamed of yourself, she said, loud enough for half the shop to hear. I looked up from my newspaper. Janet stood there in her power suit and judgment, all 5 feet of righteous indignation. Good morning to you too, Janet. Don't you good morning me. What you're doing to Olivia is despicable. What exactly am I doing to Olivia? You know damn well what. Following her around, taking pictures, threatening her. She's beside herself. The coffee shop had gone quiet. Other customers pretended to read their phones while listening to every word. In a town this size, gossip was currency, and I was about to make a withdrawal. Janet, has Olivia told you why I filed for divorce? Because you're having some kind of breakdown, midlife crisis or whatever. I folded my newspaper and stood up. Did she mention Trevor Castellano? Janet's face flickered. What about Trevor? Ask her. Better yet, ask Trevor's wife. Trevor isn't married. He was until last month. Funny how these things happen in clusters, isn't it? Janet's certainty wavered. I don't know what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. Your best friend is sleeping with her coworker, has been for months. If you don't believe me, ask her. You're lying. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to one of Webb's photos. Janet's eyes widened as she saw Olivia and Trevor in a passionate embrace. Still think I'm having a breakdown? Janet stared at the photo, her face cycling through emotions. Finally, she looked up at me with something like pity. Michael, I'm sorry. I didn't know. No, you didn't. But you were ready to crucify me based on her version of events. That says something about the kind of friend you are. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Janet, your best friend destroyed my family, and you came in here ready to shame me for defending myself. Don't talk to me about fair. I left her standing there, walked out into the crisp October morning feeling lighter than I had in weeks. One down, several to go. The next confrontation came that evening at Murphy's bar. I'd gone there to meet Ray, but found myself facing a tribunal of Olivia's supporters instead. Janet, her sister Carol, and 2 other real estate agents I barely knew. Well, look who it is, Carol said as I approached the bar. The photographer. Ray appeared at my elbow. Problem? No problem, I said. Just some ladies who want to discuss my marriage. Your marriage is over, Carol snapped. The question is whether you're going to be decent about it or keep acting like a stalker. Decent? I signaled the bartender for a bourbon. Carol, define decent for me. Not following your wife around, not taking pictures, not threatening her. I haven't threatened anyone, but I have been documenting some interesting behavior. You're sick. I'm thorough. There's a difference. Janet leaned forward. Michael, this has to stop. You're destroying Olivia's reputation. I'm not destroying anything. I'm just shining a light on what was already there. She made a mistake. She made a choice, multiple choices, over several months. Don't diminish it by calling it a mistake. One of the other agents, a woman named Brenda, spoke up. What do you want, Michael? What's your endgame here? I sipped my bourbon, considering the question. I want the truth to come out. I want people to see who Olivia really is, not the image she's been selling. And then what? Then she gets to live with the consequences of her choices. You're talking about revenge, Carol said. I'm talking about justice. There's a difference. Is there? I set down my glass and looked at each of them in turn. Ladies, let me ask you something. If your husbands were cheating on you, destroying your families, lying to your faces every day, what would you do? I'd leave, Brenda said. I am leaving, but I'm not going quietly. Why not? Because quiet is what she's counting on. Quiet is what lets her rewrite history, play the victim, make me the villain. I won't give her that satisfaction. Carol stood up, her face flushed with anger. You used to be a good man, Michael. What happened to you? I finished my bourbon and stood up. I learned that being good doesn't protect you from people who aren't. Ray followed me outside. That went well. Better than expected, actually. How so? Janet's having doubts. Did you see her face when I mentioned Trevor's wife? His ex-wife. Right. But Janet doesn't know that yet. She's going to go home and start asking questions. And then? Then Olivia's support system starts cracking. Ray lit a cigarette, the flame illuminating his weathered face. You're playing a dangerous game, Mike. I'm playing the only game I can win. What if you're wrong? What if this blows up in your face? I looked back at Murphy's bar, where Olivia's friends were probably planning their next intervention. Then at least I'll go down swinging. But I wasn't wrong. By Thursday, the cracks were showing. Janet stopped returning Olivia's calls. Carol was asking uncomfortable questions. The real estate office was buzzing with whispers and speculation, and Trevor Castellano was starting to look nervous. Time for Phase 2. Marcus Webb called me Friday morning with intelligence that changed everything. Your boy Trevor's got a problem, he said. Gambling debts. Big ones. How big? 50 grand, maybe more. He's been borrowing against his commissions, but the real estate market's been slow. He's desperate. Desperate enough to steal? I can't prove it, but there are some irregularities in his client accounts. Money moving around, commissions being redirected. Your wife might not be the only thing he's screwing. I sat in my office, staring out at the October afternoon. Where is he now? Riverside Warehouse District. Looks like he's meeting someone. Send me the address. 20 minutes later, I parked my pickup truck behind a row of abandoned buildings near the Genesee River. The warehouse district had been fading for decades, victim of economic changes and corporate relocations. Now it was mostly empty buildings and broken dreams. I found Webb's car first, then spotted Trevor's BMW parked behind a loading dock. Through a broken window, I could see Trevor pacing inside an empty warehouse, talking on his phone. "I just need another week," he was saying. "The Thompson deal will close, and I'll have the money." The Thompson deal. My house. He was counting on his share of Olivia's divorce settlement to pay off gambling debts. I circled around to the front entrance, finding it unlocked. The warehouse was a cathedral of rust and shadows, pigeons roosting in the rafters. Trevor stood in the center, still talking. "No, I can't get it sooner. Look, I'm good for it, you know I am." I stepped out of the shadows. "Having money troubles, Trevor?" He spun around, phone clattering to the concrete floor. "Jesus Christ, what are you doing here?" "Learning about my wife's boyfriend. Turns out he's more interesting than I thought." Trevor was younger than me, better dressed, with the kind of smooth, good looks that women found attractive. But up close, I could see the stress lines around his eyes, the nervous energy of a man in deep trouble. "Look, Michael, I know this is awkward." "Awkward?" I laughed. "Trevor, you're sleeping with my wife and stealing from your clients to pay gambling debts? Awkward doesn't begin to cover it." His face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you do. 50 grand in the hole, maybe more. That's a lot of money for a real estate agent." "You don't understand the pressure I'm under." "Oh, I understand perfectly. You're a loser who thought he could solve his problems by stealing my wife and my money." Trevor straightened, trying to find some backbone. "Olivia loves me." "Olivia loves what you represent. Success, youth, excitement. But when she finds out you're broke and desperate, how long do you think that love will last?" "She doesn't need to know about my financial situation." "Doesn't she? What happens when your bookie comes collecting? When your clients figure out their money's missing? When the state real estate board starts asking questions?" Trevor's composure cracked. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand something. You picked the wrong man to sleep with." I pulled out my phone, showed him photos Webb had taken. Trevor with known gamblers. Trevor at the casino. Trevor moving money between accounts. "I've got enough evidence to destroy your career and put you in prison. The only question is when I use it." "You can't prove anything." "I don't have to prove anything in court. I just have to show these photos to your boss, your clients, the licensing board. Let them draw their own conclusions." Trevor's phone started ringing on the floor. He looked at it, then at me. "Answer it," I said. He picked up the phone with shaking hands. "Hello?" I could hear the voice on the other end, rough and threatening. Something about final warnings and consequences. Trevor hung up, his face gray. "They want their money by Monday." "Then you better find it somewhere else, because you're not getting it from my divorce." "Michael, please, I'm desperate here." "You should have thought about that before you decided to destroy my family." I started walking toward the exit, then stopped. "Oh, and Trevor? Stay away from my wife. Stay away from my daughter. Stay away from my house. If I see you anywhere near my family, these photos go public." "You can't do this." I turned back to him, standing there in his expensive suit in the middle of a ruined warehouse. "Watch me." I left him there with his phone and his debts and his crumbling world. Outside, the October air felt clean and cold. Marcus Webb was waiting by my truck. "How'd it go?" Better than expected. Trevor's more desperate than we thought. Desperate men do stupid things. That's what I'm counting on. That night, Olivia came home late, her face flushed with excitement. She found me in the kitchen, making dinner for Sophie. "We need to talk," she said. "Sophie, why don't you finish your homework upstairs?" Our daughter looked between us, sensing the tension. "Dad, are you okay?" "I'm fine, sweetheart. Go ahead." After Sophie left, Olivia sat down across from me. "Trevor told me you threatened him today. Did he tell you where I found him? What's that supposed to mean?" "Ask him about his gambling debts. Ask him about the money he owes some very unfriendly people." Olivia's confidence wavered. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you do. Your boyfriend's in deep trouble, Olivia. Deeper than you know. Even if that's true, it doesn't give you the right to stalk him." "I wasn't stalking him. I was protecting my interests. Our divorce settlement, remember? Hard to collect from a man who's about to lose everything." "What are you saying?" I leaned back in my chair, studying her face. "I'm saying you might want to reconsider your choice of companions. Trevor's not the successful businessman you think he is." "You're lying." "Am I? Then ask him to show you his bank statements. Ask him why his bookie called while I was there." Olivia stood up, her face flushed with anger. "I don't believe you. That's your choice. But when this all comes crashing down, don't say I didn't warn you." She stormed out, probably to call Trevor and demand explanations he couldn't give. I finished making dinner, feeling strangely calm. The end game was approaching, and all the pieces were falling into place. Sunday morning brought the reckoning I'd been waiting for. Olivia came downstairs looking like she'd been hit by a truck, her perfect makeup smeared, her designer clothes wrinkled. "We need to talk," she said. Sophie was at a friend's house, giving us privacy for what I knew would be our final conversation as husband and wife. "I'm listening." "You were right about Trevor." "Was I? Right about what, specifically?" She collapsed into a chair, her composure finally cracking. "The gambling, the debts, all of it. How much does he owe?" $75,000. More than Webb had estimated. And his solution was to steal from clients? He said it was borrowing, that he'd pay it back when his commissions came in. "Olivia, that's embezzlement. He could go to prison." "I know." She buried her face in her hands. "What am I going to do?" For a moment, I felt sorry for her. This was the woman I'd married, vulnerable and scared, stripped of her armor of success and ambition. Then I remembered the hotel receipts, the lies, the way she'd treated my parents. "You're going to figure it out," I said, just like I had to figure out what to do when I discovered my wife was cheating. "Michael, please, I made a mistake. You made a choice, multiple choices over several months. Own it. I want to fix this. I want to save our marriage." I studied her face, looking for sincerity. All I saw was desperation. "It's too late for that." "Why? Because of your pride?" "Because of your character. This isn't about the affair, Olivia. It's about who you've become." "I can change." "Can you? Can you go back to being the woman who loved my parents? Who didn't need designer clothes and expensive restaurants to feel good about herself? Who cared more about family than status?" She was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know." "That's the most honest thing you've said in months. So what happens now?" I pulled out the divorce papers Bill had prepared. "You sign these. We sell the house, split the proceeds. You get half of everything we built together, and you walk away." "And if I don't?" "Then the photos go public. Trevor's gambling debts become front-page news. Your career at Henderson Realty ends, and you start over with nothing." "You bastard." "I'm a bastard who keeps his word. Sign the papers, Olivia." She read through the documents, her face cycling through emotions. Finally, she picked up a pen. "I loved you once," she said. "I know. I loved you too. What happened to us?" You decided you wanted more than what we had. I decided I deserved better than what you became." She signed the papers with shaking hands, each signature sealing the end of 18 years of marriage. "What about Sophie?" "Sophie will be fine. She's stronger than both of us." "And Trevor?" "Trevor's your problem now. Good luck with that." Olivia stood up, looking around the kitchen like she was seeing it for the first time. This was a good house. It was, until you decided it wasn't enough. She walked toward the door, then stopped. "For what it's worth, I am sorry." "I know you are, but sorry doesn't fix anything." After she left, I sat alone in the kitchen, surrounded by the silence of an empty house. It should have felt like victory, but mostly it felt like relief. My phone rang. Marcus Webb. "It's over," I told him. "She signed?" "She signed." "What about Trevor?" "Not my problem anymore." "You might want to make it your problem. He's been asking questions about you. Seems to think you're responsible for his troubles." "I am responsible for his troubles." "Mike, desperate men do stupid things, I know. But I wasn't worried about Trevor Castellano anymore. He was a broken man with broken dreams, and broken men don't fight back. They just break further." Monday morning, I drove to Henderson Realty to deliver copies of the signed divorce papers. The office was buzzing with whispers and speculation. Olivia sat at her desk, staring at her computer screen like it held the secrets of the universe. Trevor's desk was empty. "Where's your boyfriend?" I asked. "Gone. He left town this morning." "Smart man." "His boss found out about the client accounts. He's being investigated for embezzlement." "And you?" "I'm looking for a new job." I set the papers on her desk. "Your copies." She looked up at me, and for a moment I saw the woman I'd married 20 years ago. Young, hopeful, full of dreams. "I really am sorry, Michael." "I know, but sorry doesn't change anything." I walked out of Henderson Realty for the last time, feeling the weight of 18 years lifting off my shoulders. That evening, Sophie came home from her friend's house to find me packing boxes in the living room. "Dad, what's happening?" "Your mother and I finalized the divorce today. We're selling the house." Sophie sat down on the couch, looking small and lost. "Where will I live?" "With me. Your mother's moving to an apartment downtown." "Is she okay?" "She will be. Your mother's tougher than she looks." "Are you okay?" I considered the question. 3 weeks ago, I'd been a married man with a stable life and a cheating wife. Now I was single, soon to be homeless, but strangely at peace. "I'm better than okay, sweetheart. I'm free." "Free from what?" "From pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. From living with someone who didn't respect me or our family. From being the kind of man who accepts being treated badly." Sophie was quiet for a moment. "Will you miss her?" "I'll miss who she used to be, but that person's been gone for a long time." "Do you hate her?" "No. I pity her. She threw away something real for something fake, and now she has to live with that choice." The phone rang. I checked the caller ID. Marcus Webb. "Mike, you need to see the news." I turned on the television, flipped to the local news channel. The anchor was talking about a body found in the Genesee River, apparent suicide. The name made me freeze. Trevor Castellano. "Jesus," I whispered. Sophie looked at the screen, confused. "Dad? Who's Trevor Castellano?" I stared at the television, watching Trevor's photo flash across the screen. The handsome face, the confident smile, the expensive suit. All of it meaningless now. "Nobody, sweetheart. Just someone who made some bad choices." But as I watched the news coverage, I felt something cold settle in my chest. I'd wanted to destroy Trevor Castellano's life. I just hadn't expected him to do it himself. The news anchor continued. Castellano was under investigation for embezzlement and faced significant gambling debts. Police say he left behind a note apologizing to his family and creditors. I turned off the television, my hands shaking slightly. Dad, are you okay? Sophie asked. I'm fine, just tired. But I wasn't fine. I was something else entirely, something I'd never been before. I was a man who'd gotten exactly what he wanted, and now I had to live with the consequences, just like everyone else. 3 months later, I stood in the kitchen of my new apartment, reading the morning paper over coffee. The real estate section showed our old house had sold, the proceeds split 50-50 as agreed. Olivia had found a job at a smaller agency across town. Sophie was finishing her senior year and planning for college. Life was moving forward, as it always does. The phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Michael Thompson? Yes. This is Detective Morrison with the city police. I'm calling about Trevor Castellano. What about him? We're closing the case, but I wanted to ask you a few questions. You were involved in some kind of dispute with Mr. Castellano before his passing? He was having an affair with my wife. I confronted him about it. Did you threaten him? I told him to stay away from my family. And that was the extent of your contact? Yes. Mr. Thompson, did you know about Mr. Castellano's financial troubles? I hesitated. I knew he had gambling debts. How did you know that? I hired a private investigator during my divorce proceedings. It came up during his investigation. I see. Well, that matches what we found in Mr. Castellano's apartment. Gambling debts, embezzlement charges pending, career ruined. Looks like he just couldn't handle the pressure. Is there anything else, Detective? No, that's all. Sorry to bother you. I hung up, my hands shaking slightly. The official story was suicide brought on by financial pressure and legal troubles. No mention of revenge or manipulation or psychological warfare. Just a man who'd made bad choices and couldn't live with the consequences. I finished my coffee and got ready for work, thinking about Trevor Castellano's last moments. Had he thought about Olivia? About the affair that started his downfall? About the husband who'd refused to go quietly? I'd never know, and that was probably for the best. Some victories come with a price too high to calculate. But as I drove to my office that morning, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Complete and total peace. I'd set out to destroy the people who'd betrayed me, and I'd succeeded beyond my wildest dreams. Olivia was alone, disgraced, starting over with nothing. Trevor was gone, and I was free. Sometimes the good guys win, sometimes they just win differently than they expected.